The Velvet Underground. Who would have thought? What a perfect song for today. Who loves the sun? Welcome to the new Design for Living, where we are in real time reimagining how we live, how we love, and how we treat each other. The new Design for Living is scaffolding for a new society. Someone recently used the phrase spiritual architecture for the new way. However you call it, I'm really glad you're tuned in today. I'm very excited to introduce my special guest who has been in town doing some talks. She was also just at the Arctic Visions conference last week, met Chase Rowan, who was my guest last Monday. So this is so beautifully being woven together for us. Lynn Lockner, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Camille. So honored to be here.
And
thank
I
you.
really appreciate it. I know you stayed over to be on the show before heading back home. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So I want to acknowledge that astrology is not only very broad, but it can go very deep. And if we had a sleepover and we locked the doors for an 8-hour marathon, we could begin to scratch the surface of this enormous and now very, very popular topic. It's having a resurgence for sure. So today we're going to focus on a few things and try to keep our discussion in a way that helps us put like parentheses around astrology and drop it down into the science that it comes out of so that we can anchor it into something that's real for those who want to. People can think of it however they want to, but there's real reverence here as it relates to the history, the meaning, the purpose, and the beginning of astrology, which I find, really, really interesting. So a good place to start is with you and your relationship to astrology and when it began. So share with us how you and astrology crossed paths.
I'll start on the note that it's such an honor to be here and to be sitting across from you, as I know you are an Aries and I am a Libra. And so on the zodiacal scale, we are opposites. And here we are today meeting in the middle.
And I think Libra is my rising.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm 2 Aries and a sun and moon, and then Libra rising.
Oh, interesting.
Not that I know what that means, but it's good to see you,
yeah,
my Libra friend.
I can see that Libra rising.
Oh, you can? Okay,
I can.
Good.
Mm-hmm. So my beginning was with my children. I met an amazing astrologer who is also a mother. She's here in Alaska. Jess Anderson, if you're out there, thank you so much. Her astrology channel is Mama Bear Milky Way, and she does astrological readings for families, and they're not super deep because that would be so time-consuming and kind of overwhelming, but she gives you a snapshot of what elemental makeup you have as a family. More water, more fire. My husband is gone for 2 weeks at a time, so that changes every 2 weeks, and I could get an idea of where, we have less fire when Dad's gone, more water, things like that. And I just never stopped. After that reading, I kept investigating. I kept pulling at threads. I found the Astrology podcast, which is an amazing resource.
Now, I'm just going to pause you there for a second.
Yes.
So she gave you your reading, or she gifted you a reading?
She gave. We paid for a reading. Yes.
And what led you to even do that?
It was her. It was just, she's a remarkable person, and I was inspired by her as a mother, as a woman. I met her at Siraj and Michaela's drum making class down in Homer, and I knew a bit of her story. And it was so neat to me that she had just completed the study of astrology.
Okay.
And she was kind of a little embarrassed. She's like, it sounds weird, but I'm actually an astrologer. I'm like, I didn't realize that's actually like a thing. I thought it was just kind of something for entertainment.
Fascinating. And as a child, were you fascinated with the sky and the planets and the sun? Do you now look back and see some breadcrumbs from your early years?
Absolutely, I do. it wasn't so much this, well, it was the stars, but it was the outside world. My mother wouldn't help me because she thought it was just insane, but I saved up. I got a paper route when I was in 7th, 8th grade and saved up the money to go on a backpacking trip. On the last day of this backpacking trip, we were all encouraged to go walk away from the campfire and go find a space out in the darkness. And the leader of the group was hitting a drum, and we just walked in pace with the drum. And he said, when you hear the drum stop, then you sit down. And I did, and I felt the most overwhelming feeling of love. I looked up at the stars. I saw a shooting star. I felt like it was for me.
How old were you at the time?
Because I was looking. I was 13 or 14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then all throughout my childhood in church, I was always asking questions. I was always so curious about the story and the scriptures that I was hearing. But I always got in trouble. And I would try and bring
For
the outside
questioning.
world. Yes.
For questioning, yeah.
Yes. And meanwhile, I would go out, and behind our house there was a little creek, and I would go catch frogs and snakes and make things out of leaves, and I didn't know what I was doing. But I would ask my mom, like, how, God gave us these things. This must be for some part of the body or some system. And, she was like, oh, that's cute play. But she didn't make that connection either. And so life went on. I continued to walk the spiritual path. It was more agreeable in my family to walk more of the Christian path. But I was always one foot in the Christian church, one foot in the ether. I was always just exploring, feeling music differently than others did. And
well, you were brought up Episcopalian, and so I would imagine that, of course, like most religions, if you're questioning, it doesn't work for them.
Yep.
Don't question, just accept the medicine, and that's that.
Yes.
So, and I would imagine that you have gone through a transformation in your relationship to the God of your understanding, the one that you grew up being schooled about, and the one that you've encountered in the more natural way.
Yes.
Is that an accurate description of part of this journey?
Absolutely.
For you?
Absolutely.
What age were you when you really feel like you had that awakening, that the God that was a part of your church and your upbringing wasn't the one that you were realizing was true for you?
It was with astrology and understanding the God that was mentioned in the Bible is actually Saturn, Satan, and was given the keys to this domain, this world. Mythologically, Saturn castrated his father, Uranus. And Uranus represents eternity, the prima mobile, all of the stars, the galaxies, the asteroid belt, the Kuiper belt, and everything beyond that, which we have gigantic planets out there. That's where Pluto and Sedna are. And Sedna, this giant planet, is coming back online right now. And the asteroid belt is where apparently it's the remnants of Tiamat. The ancient war that erupted Tiamat is now the asteroid belt. And if you do a reading, an astrological reading just with the asteroids, it's remarkable to see where they show up, the names, and how it weaves into your life story. It's insane. But ultimately, when we make the unconscious conscious through our own birth chart, we're bringing Tiamat back online.
And the reason why I was asking you specifically about your relationship to this idea of God is because in the new design model, we go from a God that is outside of us to a God that is within us. Yeah. And we go through an awakening of that profound realization that divinity is not only nestled at the center of our own beingness, but we are made up of divine matter. Yes. And it's a profound journey, and it's a profound awakening. And so I just find it interesting, the moments when people have that. It doesn't always happen in a moment. Sometimes it comes after many years of transitioning out of one program and through experience coming to realize something completely different. Yes. But I would imagine that at some point you had to walk away from the church. Was that an active move on your part?
Oddly enough, I can still go to any church and have a spiritual experience. So I can listen to scripture, I can listen to any sermon, I can sing the songs, and I am fully engaged. I'm not tuning out. I find expression in all.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And why not?
Yes.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was very fascinating, I was reading up a little bit about you, is that you say that astrology grants you the ultimate multi-tool to understand versus understand. A holy science, and that's with a W, that connects letters, numbers, physics, science, frequency, patterning, etc., to synchronize a lifelong love of singing, playing music with that which underscores all languages, right? This is why I was saying we got to find an overarching, topic to touch on here because it's so comprehensive. And yet, as I was saying to you earlier, when I came to Alaska, one of the things that was really beautiful was when I was working at a radio station, KNBA, which I still have an affiliation with. I was doing the morning show, and I had a lot of opportunity to interview Indigenous people. And I had a lot of opportunity to be humbled by their story and their history and their use of the sky and how the universe, the cosmos, the planets was everything, is everything to how they live and the information they get and how they use that information for hunting or survival and all of that. So it does make sense that it is very comprehensive because it is.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about what astrology really is, because there is a lot of pop culture right now around astrology, and I think that it would be cool to kind of hear from you from a more scientific approach what it is and how can we, in layman's terms, kind of understand it.
The way that I understand it to be, so when we're looking at a natal chart, we're looking at both sides of the scalar wave that the sun makes.
And I want you to think that every time you say a word that you know what it means, I'm going to ask you what it means. Because Skylar, what is that?
Okay, so a scalar wave is it has amplitude. It goes up, and then it comes down, and it comes up, and it's a wave.
Okay.
So just imagine a rolling wave. And this is what the sun does every day, and it does it every year. And it makes this formation around the earth. It is also doing the same thing around ourselves because we are earthlings. We're made in the image of the creation, of Creator. And so there's a 12ness to that scalar wave. There's a 12ness to the structure of an atom. There's 12 neutrinos in an atom. There were 12 labors of Hercules, 12 tribes of Israel, 12...
DNA.
12 strands of DNA, 12...
months in a year.
12 months in a year. I mean, the list can go on and on.
Okay.
It's the same story.
Originating from the sun.
Originating from the sun.
And is this 12, is this wave a frequency?
It is a frequency.
Okay.
So it makes a sound. And all of the other planets are following this wave and this sequencing. So they are playing in sequence with the sun and making like a symphony.
So that's neat. And what's interesting about that is we've got some eclipses coming up.
Yes, we do.
We've got, I think, 2.
Yep.
So what happens when a planet or the moon is in an eclipse with the sun? Are they going silent as far as that sound wave goes, or is it highly activated?
If it is eclipsing the sun, what the ancients interpreted from that was an eclipse of some kind of leader or some major energy. The sun was the leadership, the government, the monarch, oligarch, whoever it was at the time. So when the moon eclipsed that sun, there was a lot of talk about something happening to the king or the monarch, so they would hide him away. If it was the moon that was eclipsed, it had to do with the people. But people were never informed about this. They would go to Sunday service and get the fear of God put in them about the eclipse. They were never informed about what an eclipse actually was. It was just they were giving the extrapolation from the church. They were never given the knowledge of the actual luminaries and what was happening, and that it had to do with the path of the ecliptic, which is where the sun always, always stays. So,
and how far back are you aware of that astrology goes? I mean, how far back? BC?
yes,
Really?
5, 8, more than that. I think it was the original science.
Wow.
Like you just read in my bio, it was the original. They called it the Prisca-Theologia, the precious science. And when you look at your chart, you can get an idea of trigonometry in your own body. So the scalar wave is also the human body, and where the sun starts in Aries every year.
Thank you.
In the head, the cerebrum, which is the cerebrum is where we get the ram, the Aries ram.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the cerebrum, which is Taurus. Then it goes into Gemini. So the signs are seasonal depictions. They are vibratory emanations that the sun makes. So for 30 days, the sun is in that sign. And we get the word sign from the word signal. So it's making this pulsation for 30 days.
And I've been dabbling in things that I don't know because I'm trying to stretch my thinking about some of these more interesting topics that people might say are out there. So recently I've been learning about the Schumann resonance.
Oh, yes.
Does the sun have a name for its resonance?
Oh.
Because isn't the Schumann resonance the frequency that the Earth is emitting outwardly? Mm-hmm. Because another thing I've been reading about, which is also too, is the solar flares that have been, quote unquote, hitting the Earth. So I'm sure that's all a part of what we're touching on today as well.
Yes.
So you say that astrology could be as far back as 8,000 BC. Mm-hmm. You're suggesting through your own research is that it's our first science and that therefore everything is included in it. So when we talk about letters, when we talk about symbology, I would imagine even like geometric designs, the diamond, what have you, is coming out of astrology.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. All of sacred geometry first happened in the heavens. It was tracked in the heavens, and then it was all of the beautiful cathedrals and churches that have been built could not be done by somebody that was untrained. It had to be done by a mason, and the mason was baptized into this celestial knowledge of the sacred geometry.
Wow.
And the music of the spheres. Johannes Kepler was not speaking in metaphor when he was talking about the music of the spheres. They make an architecture of sound. And they make it's expressed through our bodies because we're earthlings, and it's expressed through this earthly home in which we live. So in the flowers and the trees and the animals and the fecundity of summertime, it's when the sun and the moon are in their exaltation. They're at their apex of the scalar wave. And then the opposite of the summer solstice is the winter solstice. That is Capricorn season. We're at the Tropic of Capricorn. Capricorn was known as the gates of the gods, and Cancer is known as the gates of man because we come in through Cancer, through the Cancer gate with a body, and the moon rules Cancer, and the moon rules the body. The moon represents the people and the body, and is kind of the intermediary between all the luminaries, the sun and the earth, because the moon does every month. We get the word moon, month from the word moon, because the moon cycles 28 and a half days through every sign, while the sun's doing its work for 30 days, doing these signal emanations of vibration. The moon is kind of escorting, midwifing all of us through the month, carrying the light of the sun in different emanations. The piece about the letters is really fascinating because they got all the letters from the formation of the sun, from the different symbols and signs the sun makes. We get the letter I, the Alan Parsons song, Eye in the Sky. Alan Parsons, I believe.
Yeah.
That is the eye in the sky on the water. When you look at the sun setting, there's an eye.
And I have that from a sunset
I do
a couple
too.
of weeks ago.
I did.
It was
remarkable.
I mean, I always tell people, get up, go out, get in your car and drive to the sunset, because there is something so profound, aside from the fact that it is stunningly beautiful, aside from the fact that it resets your nervous system, which we all need to understand the importance of these days, because we're not designed for this 24-hour insanity that, we're addicted to with our phones and all. You have to have some reverence and respect for your nervous system, which drives your car. Yeah. There are these moments when things happen and something is extraordinary in the moment. Like something is going on. Like the mystery is so alive in a sunset. Not to be solved, but to be experienced. And I'll show you that picture I got of that eye. Also, anytime somebody says Alan Parsons, now I have a flash of Alan Parsons in the documentary that was done with the Beatles, the Let It Be documentary. Did you see that?
Not yet.
Okay, well, you got to set aside several hours. That's a good winter documentary to watch. But he's the guy in the studio that is writing the name of whatever it is of the tape that's going in the box. The big reel-to-reel. I mean, it's one of the most, for me, just looking at a reel-to-reel does something to me. And he's got the black marker and he's writing the name of the song or whatever on there because he was in those studios when the Beatles were doing that recording of Let It Be. Now, fast forward to this conversation where you're talking about Eye in the Sky, and now I'm going to have to play that on my other show on Friday because, it's bringing a different meaning to it. So, and I appreciate your passion. It's just wonderful when people are in their passion because I can feel it coming across the table how much you love this and how much it's taken you up. When you had your chart done, when you look back at your own chart, was it destined that you would be an astrologer, that you would have this love and passion for this science?
I never asked the question, and I was looking for somebody to tell me, like, yes, you can do this. This is, it's in your chart. You can do astrology. I had been, I received a Vedic astrology reading, and Veda, they call it Veda, but it's, or Vedic astrology, but it's also called Jyotish, Indian, and it's based on the stars, the constellations. And originally, the ecliptic was lined up with the stars. The ecliptic, the path of the sun, was lined up with the stars. Well, the stars have moved. So tropical astrology works off of the ecliptic of the sun, which never changes, has never changed, will never change. While the stars actually move, the stars gave us the seasonal depiction of the sign. So that still holds true on the ecliptic. And tropical astrology, medical astrology, a lot of the practical uses for astrology is based on tropical astrology because it never changes. The sun never changes its course. Where the stars, everything else can wobble a little bit and even go retrograde. The sun always follows the same path. Well, the Egyptians knew this. They had women specifically that were assigned to watching the hours. They were called the Horuses, the eyes of Horus. Horus on the horizon, the eye on the horizon. So they were assigned to sit and watch the horizon because they had characters assigned for every second of the day.
Really?
Time was so precious. They measured everything. What is medicine? Medicine is measurement. So they brought measurement of light and information in at all times of the day. And that's where we got our word for whore, is from the Horuses, the women that watched the time. And women were the keepers of the wisdom. We've always been the repository.
Don't get me going on this.
I know. Oh,
Don't
that's
get me
another.
going on this, Lynn, because, that is part of the great awakening, the divine feminine. Like, we are over it, man. Like, we are done. Yeah. Like, I recently started up a woman's circle called Women Gathering with my dear friend Blaze Bell. Now, this is something I did with another dear friend 20 years ago. And we did it for like 13 years. And it was a phenomenon. We did it on the Monday closest to the full moon. And come the new year, I was just feeling, because women have been pummeled. It's been rough, right? Like, we're not the only group, but we have been pummeled. Yes. And I just was feeling the need to gather. And we did the first one in May. And you're going to love this because I said, we're going to put the chairs in a circle. And as soon as that last woman sat in that circle, that was it. Wow. Whatever is ancient and true and real got activated in that circle. It blew my mind and blew my heart wide open. Women were open. raw, revealing, willing. There's something, and I'm sure it happens for men too, there's something sacred about the circle. And now, as I relate it to the natal chart and everything you're saying about the circle, and the eye, which is why it's also fascinating when you get into trauma and you talk about the relationship that the optical nerve has to the place in the brain that holds trauma that gets released through things like tapping, EMDR, brain spotting, and things like that.
Yes. I
start to, like you, get emotional and understand more clearly why we are experiencing a momentum in the new appreciation of many generations, but certainly a younger generation with astrology and tarot, which I have called both the new, though they're ancient, the new spirituality.
Yep.
Because all these kids that don't relate to church, don't relate to religion, are going back to the ancient science and spirituality of astrology and tarot in ways that are blowing up the internet. It's remarkable, you know. So thank you for reminding us yet again that the role of a woman in history was critical and meaningful and necessary for important information. Yeah. You know, it goes back to the new design model where it's both the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine. A work environment that has both the male and the female brain considered. You know, so as you can tell, I can go off on that topic. Oh, okay. So, Lynn Lockner is my guest. By the way, we do have a phone number if you want to call. 907-222-1061 is the number if you want to share a question or a comment about all of this. Why do you feel, and maybe it's in the stars, but why do you feel now it seems like astrology has taken off? Is it in part because we are in unknown times and there's a satiation that happens with tarot and with astrology when people feel like they know something? Like, in other words, they can peek around the corner of uncertainty and get some sort of guidance or information that calms us down about the not knowing?
I think that there's an astrological component to it, absolutely, with Pluto, the god of the underworld, moving through Aquarius. And the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius was when we had the American Revolution and the French Revolution. It also somewhat coincided with the discovery of Uranus, which had to do with the Theosophical movement in the United States, and the Industrial Revolution, and Tesla technology, and Tesla, just his whole livelihood, his whole story is so interesting. So we are coming back from whence we came. There's a movie, and it's based on a book. I think it's 100 Million Pieces, or about addiction and how just in the addiction cycle you are kind of thrown upside down and broken into pieces, and then thrown upside down and broken into pieces. And it's about putting yourself back together again, piece by piece, remembering who you are. Same thing has happened with Tiamat, with the asteroid belt, with all we are all scattered. And when we hear our story told, especially by somebody else, there's something so redeeming about it, that force of love, which is God. Because the original people said, God doesn't fit into a word. We can't accommodate a word to God. God is a force. It's love. I
call it
action.
the love intelligence. You know, my personal transformation out of Catholicism into spirituality is that I honor it all by calling it a love intelligence. Love is its propelling reasoning behind all things, and the intelligence, of course, is the mind, you know, that governs all. You know, so it's a more comprehensive phrase for me that better aligns. But whatever anybody's word is, I think we're all pretty much talking about the same thing.
Yes.
So I want to have you, finish, though, why you feel people are embracing astrology these days more than ever.
I think there is a remembrance happening of why we came here, why the Puritans came here originally. And this isn't in history books, and I'm really trying hard to find sources to substantiate this. But the Puritans came over with astrological knowledge. They were trying to do away with the whole Christmas holiday and all the holy days that Rome was delving out. Christmas was the biggest one, though, because it's the biggest harvest and the biggest inversion of the true holiday. So they came over with what's called the Book of Knowledge, and it had a picture of the man and the sun moving through the human body. So it had the zodiacal chart mapped onto the human body. So people knew as the sun is moving through these seasons, it's also moving through the human body. It's moving through your children. It's moving through your husband. It's moving through your grandparents. So they could track the seasons with the body, with their children, with their family, also with the outside world and what the earth was bringing forth.
Alignment.
Yes.
Alignment and a sense of wholeness, like you were talking about fragmentation.
Yes.
Before I jumped in there a few minutes ago, and how when you hear somebody tell your story, I would imagine it restores wholeness.
Yes.
Right? And that's part of what I know for sure is going on right now. Yes. People are awakening to a system that we agreed to on some level, but it took our parts because it told us that the outer world knew better than the inner world.
Yes.
And now, of course, we're realizing that might not actually be true.
Yes.
For some, it feels too late. For others, it's right on time, and it's arrival in our understanding that we are in a moment. We are in a moment of wholeness. I think that's what we really all yearn for, is that feeling of wholeness. That's why, Chase's discussion and my deep dive afterwards into ibogaine as, the medicine of God coming from this shrub in Africa is so right.
Yeah.
It's just, all of this is just so right. Like, I think that's part of what we're saying too, is give yourself permission to feel what is already familiar to you. Like even your comment just now about medicine being a frequency. Like I talk all the time on my show, not the only one. I say music is the medicine.
Yes.
I mean, it's remarkably powerful, both in its ability to elevate, as well as bring you down,
ground you.
If you're, and also into something darker, a lower vibe, depending upon what you're exposing yourself to. So this is just absolutely all very, very fascinating. Lynn Lockner is my guest. She's an astrologer, and we are just going for it today. And I'm so glad that we are.
Camille, just to add
please.
To the return of astrology, if anybody does a deep dive on Washington D.C. and the architecture of Washington D.C.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about the fact that we have the largest zodiacal layout in the entire world.
Can you define that word for us?
There's lots of meanings, and that's another topic because
just a generic one, so we can track what you're saying.
Okay, so the zodiacal layout is the 12 zodiac signs.
Okay,
Aries through Pisces.
Okay,
and
now you're talking about it from the perspective of offering a geometric form.
Yes.
In build. Okay, so we go back to DC.
Yes. So there is the largest casting of a natal chart. It's at I think there's a bronze statue of Albert Einstein outside the Museum of Science, I think.
Okay.
And when you walk into that museum, there's a huge decoration of the sky right there. Mm-hmm. But the largest in the world still exists in D.C. Why in D.C.? And why at the banks of the Potomac, which was a swamp? And why did they choose D.C.? Why was D.C. originally called Rome? Rome on the hill. Interesting. Just interesting things to go back and look into, because our founding fathers knew something about this land and about the purpose, and it was astrologically chosen.
Why?
That's for everyone else to go and look into.
Why? What's the answer for you? What's the why answer for you?
Because our return to our home is all about discovering as above, so below.
Now, I'll tell you what's going on for me right now, just thinking about what you're implying, is that if D.C. is the home to this geometric shape that represents the natal chart, the 12 signs, and we see where it's gone today, which is completely kidnapped and taken out of the hands of we the people, right. It would make sense, given its initial intention, that we would be going through this awakening so we can decide, are we the people that own this, that have this, that are this, that have been given the opportunity to create a new design model for politics, for government, for life, and all these things, we're talking about. Do you feel like that's part of why that land was chosen for that kind of structure?
I absolutely do.
That's wild.
I do. And in a way, I feel that the United States was picked as a location, and this sounds really
okay.
Conspiratorial, but let's remember conspiracy means to come together and breathe, and it's never been so important to do that.
Come together. Conspire. Sure.
Yep.
Come together. It was
what
right
a conspiracy.
There. It was right there before our very eyes.
Yes.
And no one broke down the meaning. Oh, my God.
They attached it to what happened when Kennedy was assassinated, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're
or when you
dookie.
question, when
yes.
you question." It goes back to where we started the conversation. When you question authority, when you question the system. But
exactly.
Go on. So the United States chosen.
The United States was chosen as a place to collect the evil, to attract the most powerful that would come here. It's like, how do you catch a cockroach? How do you kill cockroaches?
Well, why would that be true?
You attract them all to a place to catch them. So Pluto just moved into Aquarius from Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn represents, or Capricorn represents top-down structures. So we are living through a time when our top-down structures, the medical system.
Yeah, all of it.
Mainly government.
The whole thing.
Banking, all of it. It's all being toppled. Well, Pluto's moved into Aquarius. Aquarius is represented by the archetype of the man pouring water. Well, men never gathered water. That was not their job. So we know it's telling us a symbol right there. And this is the information returning to the people from the people. So when I talked about us being broken into a bunch of pieces, we all have the truth. We all have the medicine. When we wake up and we take our own medicine first, our transformation begins, and we therefore have the ability to pump our glasses so full that they overflow, and we can overflow to each other. We can share. But when we're empty and we're broken, which is what this life does, it's just what we came here for superpower training or superhero training. When we activate ourselves, like I work on every day. I don't just study astrology, I live it. I am purifying my body. I'm very, very, very careful about what I put in. And I go in deep, like Plutarch and Hippocrates. Before you could even study in their school, you had to fast for 40 days. You had to release this world, this carbon copy density, and be open to receiving a light language. And
let's just take a moment.
Yeah.
Because that's some big stuff.
Yes.
And I don't want to fire hose ourselves because it's not necessary, but it is overwhelming in a good way. That people these days, myself included, can feel very defeated.
Yep.
And we hear all the reasons why that's true and all of that, and don't let it get you down. And, and I get all that. And there is a weight that can be felt and a feeling of hopelessness. And I live through it by asking myself, what is mine to do? And trust that answer is what's mine to do and to do that thing. Even though, like, you can't necessarily heal hunger, but you can feed somebody in your community.
Yes.
Right? Trying to, in the new design model, trying to move away from global and move into the value of local.
Yes.
Because people, we need these days feelings that tell us that our gestures matter. Yeah. We need a sensation in our body and in our heart at the end of the day that allows us to know what's going on out there and yet feel like we did something today that maybe could tilt the scale. Yeah. And I truly believe, I was talking about this over the weekend, I truly believe that aside from in the 3D world, a general strike, I truly believe that the answer is this, is to have conversations where people give themselves permission, even though their mind is saying, turn this off, this is stupid, what are these women talking about, this is all woo-woo, to just let that be. And give your heart a chance to enter the conversation. Give your heart a chance to put the ears on and listen from a fresh perspective, because we need as many different languages as possible these days to discern what we're in. And I think that's why astrology and tarot is so important for us to consider, because they're languages. Yeah. They help us understand the mystery. They don't help us solve it, because I don't think that's what the mystery is here for. It's here to be experienced. So I appreciate this conversation we're having and all the different, spokes that come out of the wheel of astrology, the numbers, the symbology, just this idea. I watch Gaia. And Gaia is a trip, man. I tell you what, right? Even myself, which I can stretch pretty far out there are times I'm just like, seriously? What the hell is this person talking about? But I do it because I choose to, right? I want to just be stretched. I want to be in front of things that challenge my thinking, even if I choose that it's not in alignment with my thinking. And, there's so much on there about sacred geometry. So just this idea that Washington, D.C., was mindfully chosen because astrology was used to understand what was already there, predestined by the cosmos. And this idea to gather darkness not for the purpose of annihilation of the people, but for the annihilation of the darkness. And this real understanding that, we are made up of much more than skin and bones. And that this frequency that we carry with us, like you're saying, when you purify it as much as you can every day, it really is going to set us up for something that I think may surprise the dark. Or maybe they already know that the light is coming and they're scrambling. That's a whole nother discussion. But you mentioned something on the phone this morning about darkness, and you used the word alchemy, to alchemize it. Do you remember what we were talking about, this idea of alchemizing the darkness? Let's chat a little bit about it.
Yes. So the title of my business is Eighth House Alchemy, and it focuses on the eighth house in astrology. I have a fascination with eighth house topics.
Why?
Because it's synonymous with Scorpio, and Scorpio is, I think, so very misunderstood and gets a bad rap. But to me, it's the juiciest part of. Well, I say it's the juiciest part in learning about astrology. I was just fascinated with the eighth house because it is about transformation. It's where we arrive in the zodiacal line out from Libra into Scorpio. So we go from relationship into intimacy. And in any relationship, you have to recycle. You have to be able to look at the things that hurt you. You have to be able to kind of be vulnerable and...
I like to say self-reflect to self-correct.
Yes. Yeah, yes. And we were talking before the show about talk therapy, different types of therapy, and what is the best therapy. Well, it's so wonderful to get into eighth house topics with people because it has to do with sexuality and trauma and things that are repressed and buried in the swamp where the lotus flower emerges. We can't have the lotus flower without the swamp. So I love to take people into the swamp and instantly whatever's in their eighth house ushers us into that conversation very easily. But we're not talking in names and personal
individuals.
Yes, or the actual story. We're talking in terms of Pluto, which has the theme of being abducted or seeing someone being abducted or seeing someone be abused, seeing someone being raped. We don't get into the actual thing, but just by mentioning the archetype, it opens that up. Like, how did you know that? I would have never told anybody, but you just said it for me. Thank you. Like, and it allows them to like, well, maybe I could actually write about that in my journal finally, or I could talk to my best friend about it. Just you putting the lightness of your conscious awareness on those things, that transforms it right there. Your own awareness, being aware, like Chase Rowan was talking about. He saw things that he could not explain to anybody else. He saw it for himself and he knew it was real, and that changed everything.
Right. And he didn't need, and that's why, it was great because like we were saying, you get to, when you have that kind of realization, you don't need anybody to validate it.
No, exactly.
And that's powerful.
That's alchemy.
Because we do live, and this is one of the things that I've been, that's been shown to me, is like we do live in a system of external validation. And, you can be pausing the growth of your life, or you can be experiencing stagnation because we're in a trance with a system that holds the validation that when we get it, we have permission to move. Wow. And, when he talked about that, it made me realize that that's another big thing that's going on for people, whether it's through plant medicine or, energy medicine or whatever it is everybody is choosing to use to help them find their wholeness again. Yeah. The thing about ibogaine, that's just really, like we said, it doesn't even matter if they figure out how it's doing what it's doing. Just get as many people in front of it as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you, like in the most basic way, what is the first step for somebody being willing to get a reading with so they can come to understand the natal chart? Because I follow Pam Gregory a lot, and she'll often say, this is not a reading. You can go on my website. It's free. Download your chart and then download the, lessons that help you understand what it is.
Yes.
Is that the starting place for most of us, is getting a reading? Or
I think that getting a reading is helpful because it brings in the first point of connection, just intimacy with somebody, where somebody who is at least knows a little bit about astrology. They don't have to be a full-fledged astrologer, but if you know somebody who you feel comfortable sitting with, and just delving into, start with your sun and your moon and your rising. That's typically the first three that people start with. And your rising sign will throw a wrench in everything that you know about your sun sign. And in Hellenistic astrology, which predated Roman astrology, the rising sign was more impactful than the sun sign. Yeah. And this all comes back to the female again, because women were the original record keepers, and women received an activation through childbirth. And that has been blocked by the medical system massively, and also is under attack. All the midwives talk to a midwife and hear what they have to go through just to keep their license. It is unbelievable, just to hold space for a woman to give birth to a baby. And they've made it like so scary, but all to really attack the female body, because we get Pitocin, we get epidurals, we get all these things. Now we're scheduling C-sections. We're scheduling them. We're not having them, elected. Yeah. It's like, and then there's a process to get sewn up and get plastic surgery so you don't even look like, you had a baby. That was an activation. That process of birth was an activation, and the mother was the record keeper to remember, when you came into this world, the sun was doing this, and there was rain outside, and there was a loon calling, and mothers don't remember anymore. They don't want to remember because it's so traumatic. And the other thing that is missing is we don't focus on the mother anymore. It's all on the baby. It's all on what happened, not what the story of what she just went through. and what she experienced and what ancestors came through and who was there attending, who was rubbing things into her feet and singing her a song. Originally, the women would go, after the baby came safely, the women would go and weep and wail and cry because that woman they would never see her again. She was gone. And then once they were done, they would come back and greet her anew and celebrate her and sing her a song. It was not about the baby. The baby actually, that nobody even looked at the baby because the baby was protected. Its fontanelle was tucked in between the breasts, and the baby was held on the mommy's body. So the baby had like access to the vibration of the heart still and the digestive juices. So many babies are colicky because they're not traveling around on their mommy's tummies anymore. It's not acceptable in our culture. It's coming back. But that relationship was sacred. The mother was supported, not the baby. The mother was supported so the mother could do for the baby, and the mother could remember the story. And when the time of birth came back, they called it a cycle of opportunity. It was not a birthday. A birthday refers to a ship on water, maritime law. Getting out of that. We're getting back to the earth, putting our feet on the earth. Mm-hmm. There was a 3-day period around the birthday. So the day before, the mother went into this liminal space. Everyone would just like gather around her and sing songs and prepare her, help to prepare her for that DMT activation. And then the day of the birth happened. The day after the birth was sacred. It was mommy and baby together and protected. It's nothing like we do it now.
No, and it's immediate separation between the baby and the mom,
and cutting of the cord, so the blood, that incredibly rich, life-saving, giving blood, just gets tossed out along with the placenta. I mean, that's a whole different conversation. Yeah. But women remembered, and now who remembers? The government keeps track. The government is the only people don't even know when they're born. They have to refer back to their birth certificate. So even just going back to your point of origin, that right there, having a conversation with your mother or your father.
Well, and maybe that's why we keep hearing the word remembering, because we're talking about a lost memory.
Yes.
Something as simple and yet as meaningful and profound as your birth. So, this is just so, we didn't even get to the open G. Right. But that's okay. I think I have a good handle as to why music and musical notes are so profoundly powerful and healing, because it is medicine. This has just been so fantastic. And obviously you have a wealth of information, and you are welcome back anytime you come through town and your phone is working.
Yes.
Send me a text. I'm coming in, and I'm happy to touch on this because it is a challenging time.
Yes.
And I mean, what does the astrology say about these next 6 months? Is it labor? Will we be having contractions and eventually giving birth to something better? I mean, should we prepare for some more of this unsettlingness? What is the astrology, in the most generic way, telling us that can help us be better prepared mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically?
I love that question. We're in the midst of Virgo season right now, which is mutable earth. So it's ending, it's adaptive, it's changing. We're toiling the soil, we're tilling the soil and turning it over, and we're harvesting things, and we're separating the wheat from the chaff. So we're deciding what needs to be kept and what needs to be recycled and released. In the midst of this, we're moving into eclipse season, and Saturn is moving back into Pisces until February 20th of next year. Saturn is moving with Neptune. Neptune is like the great dissolver.
God of war?
Saturn is... so Saturn and Neptune are in Aries right now.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yes. I heard that on the phone this morning, too. I was like, oh, she's in Aries. And I knew that before you even told me. It's like, she's in Aries and she's got Neptune. I could hear this story playing out in what you were talking about with your
my
show.
Birth information when we get off the air.
I look forward to that.
Me.
Yeah. Yeah, big change. But Saturn Saturn is in detriment in Aries. Saturn is not strong in Aries. And Saturn is conjunct Neptune, the great dissolver. So Saturn is in heat and in bright light, and Saturn likes to be in darkness, in the cold, where things move slowly. And in Aries, things are like changing quickly. Saturn is also being making contact with his mythological father, Uranus, in mutable air. So he's getting worked on by Neptune and also by his father, but in a benefic way. They're not squaring off with each other. They actually are getting along. And Uranus is like, I told you I was coming for you. All these top-down structures, all this meddling. And also Saturn gets a bad rap, but Saturn is here to teach us to do the discipline, to do the work, to not have to die to this world.
It'll be interesting with these two eclipses coming, what you said earlier about leaders.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds in our current climate, locally, nationally, and globally.
Yes.
Lynn,
well, and Saturn is way stronger in Pisces. So be prepared as of September 1st until February 20th of next year for kind of scary things to happen, but keep questioning the reality, because Neptune is also with Saturn moving back into Pisces. Neptune rules Pisces. So the illusion is so strong.
Yeah.
Question the reality, question the illusion, go within. They're going to pump up the outside mystery, and it pales in comparison to the mystery within. You are the medicine. Step into the circle. You have all the answers. You came with it. You arrived here with it.
Perfect way to end. Thank you so much. Lynn Lockner is my guest. If people want to get more information about you, where do they go? I know you're building your website now. Where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, either Lynn Lockner or 8th House Alchemy. I'm still just a mother of two, and I'm not trying to be a big,
No, you
anything.
don't have to quantify it. Listen, I'm going to make a T-shirt today that says "Women were the first record keepers." I'm making that print on demand,
and I will order one.
That'll be available in next week. Lynn, we got to run. Thank you so much for just emptying your heart today and sharing your passion with us. It was absolutely fantastic, and you'll be able to listen back to my interview with Lynn tomorrow when I post it on my social media platforms. But go ahead to Apple Podcasts. The new Design for Living is up on all the major podcast platforms. That just happened last week. And I'm super excited about now 27 shows that we've done here since January 20th. I started on Inauguration Day to bring in a new system. We inaugurated a new system with the show. You can listen to Chase's interview. It's all there. Just find us online. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.